active. We're recording now. This is Fallout 4 gameplay. I'm Dan.
I'm Edward.
And this is Cruz.
Cruz is our producer today on the mic, and today we'll be talking about Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, accompanied by Fallout 4 gameplay, because they sort of go hand in hand in their themes and topics. So, does anybody have anything to say before we start?
First of all, the reason why they go so well together is because in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the main character Rick Deckard is hunting what they call Andes, and which are basically synthetic humans. And in Fallout 4 and 3, there are enemies called synths, which are synthetic humans that your character can hunt down and interact with.
Yeah, so pretty much a good parallel. So I'm just going to jump in as we watch this loading screen. I'm going to just give a brief synopsis of the book. We start off with Rick Deckard, who just lives his normal life trying to hunt down Andes for the sole purpose of one day attaining a real goat. And in this world, everybody's just so fixated on being empathetic. They want to prove that they're the most empathetic person through ownership of animals and taking care of those animals and just being overall good people in a fake way. And even their whole religion is based on a simulation. And throughout the book we see just robots trying to just these androids who want to live like humans, who want to be treated like humans, but are hunted down and prosecuted because they're not, even though a lot of what the androids want is very much like what the humans want, and the humans very much act in android kind of ways, just sort of doing their daily tasks, taking care of their animals, plugging into their mood organs and whatnot, just going along doing what they're told. And that's basically what they do. And throughout the novel, even Rick Deckard begins to question if he himself is an android, just due to the fact that he's sort of coerced into it, but he's still he has questions. And at the end of the novel, he has this very meta realization, meeting with his version of Jesus, I guess, telling him that he himself might be Jesus, I think they call him the Mercer. And but it's all really just taken away, and goes to show that humans and androids serve the same purpose in this satirical dystopia future that is presented in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, that you just sort of there's no point in being empathetic. There's no point in trying to give meaning to artificial life, and there's no point in doing any of that, giving meaning to actual life too, because we'll all just end up doing some daily tasks and all that.
So in Fallout 4, the synths, in the beginning of the game, your son is stolen from you. His name is Sean. And later in the game, you find out that Sean is the leader of the Institute, which is basically this organization or group that creates all of the synthetic humans, and they're your main enemies. And you find out that your son, the one you've been looking for years, is actually your biggest enemy, and he creates a synth of himself to try to persuade you into not he creates a synth of himself when he was young, so you can have the experience as a normal parent. But it's hard to choose what you want to do to the synth, because you can either accept him into your life or just not do anything with him and just leave him be. And so it's I don't know, it's kind of ironic, I guess.
These guys just bought for no reason.
I have. Don't record me. So in Fallout 4, you can be running randomly in the wild, and you'll see two characters named Art, um, I guess, interrogating each other and trying to figure out who is the real one. And this is like a representation of why the synths are like antagonists in the game and why they cause problems. And so we're our character is forced to find out which Art is the real one. Like, which one should we kill, or should we spare the Art for them to live a normal life? Just like in the end of Blade Runner, the original one, where the main antagonist, the leader of what were they called? The Andes. The leader of the Andes, where he wanted to live a normal life like humans, and so we're kind of faced with that decision to see if we should let the synthetic Art live or not, and try to live a normal life. But apparently, the synthetic Art was trying to take over the human Art's life and trying to get into his family and kind of ruin it and take it apart for when he got back. But it's just like, I don't know.
Well, I guess you can draw parallels there, because in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, you very much have like robots trying to like take over human lives, live human lifestyles, and you can see that with like Roy and his wife, who came all the way from Mars just to try and like see Earth, because that's what humans do, that's what humans typically do, and to try and like live that kind of like life, to try and like steal that kind of like existence from an actual like human being is sort of it comes down to like what like your morals are, which side do you choose, and it's very much like the Art encounter. Which side do you choose? Like whose narrative do you choose to, like, to believe? Like, do these androids deserve empathy? Do they deserve to be spared, or should they just, die as they would, like or do they deserve to be hunted? I guess, which is what we can see right now. That guy was just like shot and stuff. But yeah.
So our character chose to not allow the synth to live a normal life, which, I don't know. Our character wouldn't like that if that happened to them.
Give me that 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
And here's another video, one that showcases more of the robot side, more synth side. Just drawing back to the novel, how that lifestyle can sort of be like brought upon, how like if and do like androids, robots, synthetic life forms, and look at this guy getting torn apart, no remorse. And I guess that's sort of like the role, like the kind of like walkthrough this guy's going through is sort of like genocide run, or like kill everything in sight. But
even though these synthetics, even though some of these look more robotic than others, like they're less advanced than others, they still want to live the normal life. But that's why there are so many advanced models, because they want to hide and be able to live those lives, and they can't do that if they were in one of their more robotic forms, their more noticeable forms.
so if it were up to you, if you're at the end of that gun, would you pull the trigger if it looked more like a human, if it acted more like a human, but you knew?
If I knew that it was more like, if that synthetic was not better at heart because they don't have hearts, but if I knew they only had good intentions, I would give them a chance. And if they didn't do what they promised with their chance, obviously, like, it would end up poorly for them. And that's not what I would want to do, though. I think everyone should be able to live the experience and do what they want to in life, even if that may be hurting people. Then it would have to be ended.
So why would you? I don't think you'd put that same stuff on a human, though. Like, a human isn't, like, you don't merit like their existence based on like what they do or don't do. Like they're human, they intuitively they get to live and do as they wish. So is that just for you to say that? For you to say that they, based on their actions, you'd let them live or not? Like you wouldn't do that with any other human, would you?
I think it depends on how serious the action is and how much it impacts other people around them. Say a criminal who robs someone, they don't get much time because it was a small impact. But say you cause a genocide or like a mass a mass killing, you'll obviously
We've
get
all
like.
been there, right? I mean, you can't sort of hate on us for that.
But if you were to do that, you'd get a much larger punishment and possibly lose any sense of humanity you have for that person because of what they've done. Like just examples like Hitler or like the Rwandan genocide, and just stuff like that. Just like it kind of blocks the perception that people have of your humanity.
That makes sense. So if you're like a bad person, like people tend to view you more as like a monster than human. But I mean, would that same logic apply like to that robot who's like probably just the end of like a petty crime? Would you kill that robot for like robbery or something like that? Because that's what it sounded like your argument was earlier. Like if they do something bad, then they don't deserve to live. But look at the Fallout, for example. Like there's not really places where you have chances to do good in this world. Look at Bethesda type graphics. They're really, I think they're crummy.
But like on your point of being able to do good things in the world, it is very hard, and this world specifically because it is so post-apocalyptic because of the nuclear bomb that hit, and it's hard to have a sense of what's good and bad because most of these quote-unquote people, or these people that we call quote-unquote bad, they think they're doing good for themselves because they're just trying to survive. And I think everyone's vision can be skewed on what's right and wrong in a situation like this. And I think it's all up to just like personal judgment at that point.
Well, it's a very dog eat dog world. So, I mean, who are you to play God? Like if a synth is out there just trying to exist, just trying to like, eat, get its motor oil. I don't know what robots eat. I assume it's like cars where they drink gas. Like at Flo's gas station.
Yeah.
Like they say they're thirsty. That's kind of weird because it makes it combustions inside of them. But that's off topic. Yeah, so who are you to play God with these robots to say that you don't deserve to live because you're fending for yourself, but I do because I'm a human?
I think like at the beginning maybe it's not correct because we don't realize what they're trying to do initially until we figure out what the institute is and what their true motives are and like who the leader is, and then you really see like whose point of view it's coming from, and you find out why they're made and realize that it's like this is not a good thing, although maybe at the beginning you don't know what the synths are made for, and you're just it's confusing, and you don't really necessarily know what to do about the situation.
All right, we're back from a short break. Edward had to go diarrhea himself. So, back to the question at hand. We were talking about artificial life, if it matters or if it holds the same significance as natural born life. But let's try and like switch it up. Like if you were an android, would you value your life, or would you see yourself would you look down upon yourself when compared to real humans?
I mean, it seems to me like in these examples of androids and synthetic humans that they don't know they're androids. Most of them don't know they're androids, so that's why they're trying to live a normal life. But some of the humans do know, and that's why they try to hunt them down. When really, in all honesty, like androids don't know what they're doing. They're just like naive and trying to live their life like a normal human, which they think they are.
Well, then I think that just says like, so are humans. Humans are trying to live a normal life, trying to be like normal people. right? Even if they are naive, which in you don't really see that in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Oh crap, this guy just got demolished. Wow. But you don't really see that in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. They're fully aware that they're androids, but they just want the same sort of like, I don't know, I want to say rights, the same sort of like lifestyle treatment, yeah, as humans. So it would be unjust to give it to them. But then again, we did create them, so do we have the rules? It's sort of like when your parents say you live in my household, or like I brought you into this world, I can take you out. Does that apply, or is that even that is sort of like unjust? Like as a, I mean, I'd like to see my mom try and take me out. I think I'd win that fight.
It's just I think they're just unnecessary threats, and yeah, I think it is kind of like weird that we do say that, quote unquote, say that about the androids. Like, yeah, we did make you. Now we want to kill you, and it's kind of ironic, and it doesn't make sense. And it's like it's conflicting viewpoints, and it's like, why would we make these things that we don't actually want? And we know we don't want them, so why would we continue making them and just like hunting them down? I guess it's like the only reason I could see it still going is like because it's a source of economy and money making for the bounty hunters. But it's just like I think it's unnecessary, and it can easily be stopped.
So you're saying it's a necessary evil? Is that right? Just yes or no?
Yeah, because yeah.
All right. So you're saying that it's a good thing, yeah?
There's a good and bad viewpoint on it.
So you're saying it's a good thing, like slavery?
God, no, I'm not saying slavery is a good thing at all.
I think one can make the argument that the path we're going on with robots right now, and the path that sort of saw in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, where we just subjugate them to manual labor, is very much slavery. And so how long until that sort of becomes we get another like revolution, another civil war against like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm personally am anti android rights, because they were made in a lab. I don't think androids deserve rights. I don't think androids are the equivalent of a human being, because they weren't born. And that's also something that you see in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, that their ideas of like what deserves to be treated right and wrong come from being born, because being born, you have a soul, you're born with a soul, and that's sort of like the miracle of birth, and androids don't have that. So I don't think they have the full components of being people. They don't have a heart, they don't have a soul, and yes, they have a brain, and that brain is capable of like conscious thought and complicated thought and emotional thought, but is it human yet, without a soul, without a heart?
I don't think there is any way to formulate a human other than conception, so it's like but I mean, I don't even know what point we're on at this point.
I guess we're just talking about like android rights. Are androids people, and should we empathize with them? Which is sort of like the theme of the book. But I mean, at the end of the game, at the end of the book, he just sort of like drops it, knowing that like he too is subject to an android lifestyle.
I think it may be necessary to emphasize, because we can see some of them in ourselves, because we live such scheduled lives. Like, I'm going to wake up at this time. I'm going to do this. That's how androids are programmed. They're programmed for a specific set of tasks, and that's what we subjugate ourselves to every day. Like, I'm going to eat at this time. Lunch is at this time. I'm going to go out now, and then I'm going to come back this time. And it just feels like everything is scheduled, so it feels like we're living like an android, I guess, so to say.
Wow, so deep. I think there's another point to be made. So towards the end of the book, I don't know if you guys caught this, but uh, Ricky goes out into the desert or just like this abandoned part of the earth, and he finds a toad, and him having found that toad, he gave it like meaning, right?
Yeah.
So like I guess it is that naivety, that like being unaware if something is real or not, that I guess him believing it's real made it real. So have you guys seen that movie Artificial Intelligence? It's with that kid from The Sixth Sense.
No, I haven't seen that.
No, he's kind of fat now, and like as an adult, he still has like a baby face. I think his name's Haley Joel Osment. He plays like a robot made by. Yeah, go ahead and look him up. He plays like a little kid robot. So like this family, their kid dies, and so they want another kid. See, he has a baby face. He's kind of fat. I don't know how to feel about it. And look, here's the movie. Oh, you want to see images? Maybe he's an android, guys. Look, he hasn't aged much. It looks like he just like hot glued a beard onto his face, maybe.
It's like Eminem. He doesn't age.
No, but at least Eminem looks like an adult.
Yeah.
Haley Joel Osment, he has like this very baby-like face. Yeah, confirmed, guys. You heard it here first. Haley Joel Osment is an android, a synthetic human being. Look, he got arrested. God, I wonder why.
Oh, look, there's him from The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, here's him in The Sixth Sense. Yeah, look at him over time. He just has not aged. He actually looked pretty alright in 2008. Gained a lot of weight, though. But here's that movie, AI. And so it's sort of about like this robot kid who... Oh, here's a picture of him with Kevin Spacey. That's not very... He looks like he's all loving there. So he's sort of like a robot because like this family's son dies, and so he steps in to fill that role. And... Or the son doesn't die, he goes into a coma. He steps in to fill that role, and he's like the first robot invented that can love. And yeah, look, at the end of the movie, he meets like these aliens that grant him a wish. It was a really sad movie, but it sort of, he knows how to love, right? And he may not have a soul or a heart, but he knows how to love. So just watching the movie, you empathize with them. But in the book, like what's his name? Roy and like his wife, like obviously they love each other, his android wife, but do they, like, how come we don't empathize with them as much as I probably did with this like Haley Joel Osment character?
I think it's because they're portrayed in different scenarios, in different senses, and in AI, is it post-apocalyptic?
AI, it gets there. It starts off sort of like Neo, like future, sort of like lots of like neon lights and everything, and then it becomes like the whole world is like flooded, and they go to like this one place with like Jude Law's like prostitute robot, which is what he is. It's really crazy. And then after that, he just goes to sleep for a really long time, and he wakes up when like these aliens defrost him. And so after that, I guess you could call it apocalyptic because there's like nothing left on Earth.
Yeah, so I guess in different incantations of androids, there are different senses of how we empathize with them, if we empathize with them. Like, say in AI, we would empathize with him because he does know how to love. But in other ones, like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, he tries to empathize but can't find, I guess, the will inside him to do that. So I think depending on the way an android is represented in different scenarios, we are forced to choose a viewpoint and our perspective on how we feel about those androids.
So sort of drawing like I think Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is sort of like that middle ground, like android, synthetic life, all that deserves to be empathized, but probably won't be. That's like a middle ground, right?
Yeah.
Just because humans, that's not our job, because we too are like androids acting like androids. And so like the far radical of empathization is AI, where we empathize fully with the robot character. But the far like left, sort of like anti-robot stance, which is sort of what I lean toward, anti-android rights here, I'm pro-android slavery, is iRobot, which our producer Cruz Martinez has cleverly pointed out, is very anti-robot, isn't it? Because the main antagonist, was he the main antagonist? he claims he can dream. Remember, it's like the robot claims he can dream, and it sort of creates this dilemma. Like, if he can dream, if he can create works of art, is he deserving of like being like a human? But essentially no. Like, the answer is no, because I mean, we just see them like turn evil. Most of them turn evil. They're the main antagonists of the film, and sure, they're like small points of empathization, but no, like, they are the bad guys. Like, robots, I guess, like, essentially, like, will try and like take over human life. So we shouldn't empathize with them? I don't know.
I think eventually they will get to a point where they reach that point, because I believe it was Google. I think it was Google. They created an AI that was able to create more versions of itself on its own without any guidance from a real life like technician or coder. And it just feels like we're getting to the point where maybe androids will become a real thing. Like, we have plenty of we have a lot of technology that represents something that could like function on its own, I guess. Because like we have, what is it, Alexa from Amazon, who can respond with like, it sounds like unique sentences. It doesn't feel like everything is programmed. So it feels like they're getting to a point where AI can be scary.
Actually, I have two things to say. Speaking on scary, I looked at images here at iRobot, and most of them are Will Smith with his shirt off. What a hunk. But another thing, like, did you see that thing where it was like, I think it was Microsoft developed like two robots just to talk to each other to see what they'd say, and then they started talking about world domination, and eventually they like made their own like secret language and were talking to each other in it. It was indecipherable, and that's just crazy how. Yeah, no, like, we're on the verge of a robot takeover. That's why I'm so anti-android rights. And reading this book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, I was slightly offended.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Like, it can be scary, and maybe everyone needs to take up this viewpoint and pay more attention to this topic.
And I think just some closing thoughts. I am sort of like on the fence more towards anti-android rights. I do empathize with these characters and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, with the general motif being we should empathize, but as humans we can't, because we will or have been, well, this book is sort of like predicting a future where like technology takes over life, which is sort of what we're at right now. We will or have been completely surrounded by technology our whole lives, that it's impossible for us to empathize without technological guidance. And human robots will try and fill that void, having come from the opposite side of that spectrum. So I guess those are just a quick summary of everything we've talked about today.
Yeah. All right, I believe that was a good closing statement, and this has been Edward.
I'm Dan.
And this is Cruz.
He's been here the whole time.
All right, have a good one.
Goodbye.